We're here again, kicking it old school. And once again, we hope the audio is working. It's always the first sign.
Hear us?
Yeah, I think audio is working. So yay! We got like 2 episodes where audio is working. Well, we had it. DB just subscribed. DB, thank you. We always like subscribers, right, Steven?
Love them.
Now, Steven's actually not in his studio tonight. He's
my mother-in-law is using my iPhone and on Skype and LTE, and yeah, we'll see if it toughs out. It should be all right. I had about 78% battery.
Yep. Let's see if it makes it. It's got to make an hour. Got to make an hour.
I'm on the road. My son and I are heading to Ottawa to check out a preseason game between the Ottawa Senators and the Montreal Canadiens. I'm not going to the game because I'm not a hockey. As much as I'm Canadian, I'm not a big hockey fan. So
is that legal?
That's blasphemy up here.
I know.
I'm shunned all the time, but I hold my own.
All right.
So, you'll see.
All right.
So, how was your week, Mr. Glenn?
Again, the work week was a little bit better than in the past, but it's still a lot of hours.
This week was hell, apparently, right?
It was, and not this week was much better, but it was a little bit better. So I can't complain over the previous week. Now, everyone knows we won't be on next Friday. Unfortunately, I have to work at one of my other locations up in Norwalk. It's a whole hospital. They're doing a reconstruction project, so I'm going to be over there. So I won't be on next week, but we'll be on the following week. So tonight, since last time we talked about Quantum Leap, now was a show Steven liked. It's the new Quantum Leap.
Well, that's the thing, and I'm hoping people in the chat got to check it out, at least the first episode.
Yep.
There's 2 out there now.
Yep.
So far I like it, but we won't talk too much about it. But
I will say that it's a continuation, but not like they're embracing the old series and the characters in it. So that's good. And they seem to be treating them so far with respect. So that's good. So that's actually 2 positives already.
I think that's going into sequels. We talked about this. They need to keep going with that, like this Babylon 5 that you're excited about.
I am worried
that they don't. Up,
but I will say it's by the same producer, Michael J. Centrisky. I never say his name right.
Oh, well, that's good.
but it's the same guy doing it. So right. So he's going to obviously be he's going to be good with, I assume, the content. But since like I said, I knew about Quantum Leap. I watched it here and there. I wasn't a huge fan, but you know what? It was on. It was an episode.
Your turn to talk
I watched it.
One of your favorites.
Right. So I'm going to torture Steven.
This one, though, right?
No, I wish they would. I mean, honestly, I think the show would really do really well. They tried rebooting it a couple of times. They were calling it Space 2099 or Space 2199. They were trying to do it. And this show came out, I was young. I was like 6 years old when it came out, 1975 and 76. It only lasted 2 seasons. One of the main reasons it only lasted 2 seasons was in 1975 money, this show was $100,000 an episode. Think about that. In 1975.
And I did ask Glenn to give us the number of what that cost in today's money.
Yes, and of course, Glenn did not do that. So if anyone in the chat wants to find out what $100,000 would be
from what,
adjusted
1975, you said?
In 1975 to now. So
I'm curious to know what
the other cool thing about this, and this came out a little bit after 2001, and some of the special effects guys from 2001: A Space Odyssey, as you can see by these screenshots coming on the screen right now, they're beautiful.
They're almost identical.
They really did a nice job, and of course the main character was the Eagle, which is the spaceship, and there's Moonbase Alpha right now down on the screen. It housed about 300 people. I believe it was 3 miles long. It was a 3-mile moon base in Plato crater. And you can see the Earth in the background. And the premise of the show was nuclear disposal. We had nuclear rockets, nuclear power plants, and disposing of the waste was a problem. So what they decided to do was they were going to put all the nuclear waste, bring it to the moon on the far side. So Moonbase Alpha was on the near side, which was a station. And they fly around to the far side, make sure they dump the waste. And okay, now in this scene you're seeing right here on the center screen, they're noticing some weird things going on over there. There's been some astronauts getting brain damage, and they have no idea why. They can't find any radiation. They can't find any reason why. So something actually happens, which we'll get to towards the end of this episode. We'll actually show it, where the moon is no longer with the Earth. Something kind of happens, and they're trapped. So it's kind of like Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica, but at least in Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica, you have a spaceship. You can kind of go where you want. If there's something in your way, you get out.
Twilight Zone, this thing.
You do. I mean, but you can get out of the way. If you're stuck on the moon, you have some ships that can travel a little bit, but you're still really primarily stuck on the moon. You're stuck to wherever it goes, and if it has to go to someplace dangerous, you're in trouble because that's your base, that's your home. So there's 311 Alphans that get stuck on the base, and that's kind of what happens with them through their travels.
So what's Alphans? These people from Earth that are
Correct.
on this.
Correct. So
the nuclear disposal.
Correct. So
project.
The reason the Alpha Moon base was to monitor.
Guys.
I know.
I'm just being upfront. I'm being
here we go.
And schooled by here.
Bonafide Picker says about 250,000 at least. It could be even more, but at least that's just to give you an idea of 1975 money and a sci-fi show. It wasn't even like Star Wars had not come out yet. In fact, piece of trivia, that the Millennium Falcon had to be changed because when they designed the original Millennium Falcon, which actually became the Blockade Runner, looked like that Eagle. Correct. Lucas told them it looks way too much like the Space 1999 Eagle. And that says something. If Lucas is saying, listen, you made it look too much like this Eagle from Space 1999, they're going to recognize it. You need to change it. And then the original Millennium Falcon became the Blockade Runner in Star Wars. And then, of course, they made the Millennium Falcon we all know and love. Now, this was a British show. This was all done in England by ITC, and it was brought over to America over here, like I said, in 75 and 76. And I'm going to show you the intro, but I'm going to show you the second season intro just to kind of get the idea. Now, this Space 1999 did come out after the original Star Trek. Okay, so at least you had Star Trek. So they kind of built up on a little bit on this one. So I'm going to show you the intro real quick of the season 2 intro right now.
That's season 2.
This is season 2. Okay, so
I got questions now.
Yeah, let's hit your question real quick. We have a lot of people in the chat I want to say hi to.
End with the dog and the cat. And
okay, so let me go to the chat first and answer your question. So we have She Lion here. Welcome, She Lion. We have Adam here. We have Bonafide Picker, Hobby Hands, Bo Knows, Tecmo. Nice. I'm not wearing my glasses. I do have to get glasses. I'm getting yelled at about this. As Cowboy 1 is here. Zero Redux is here. So first of all of you, welcome to the show. So to answer your question, this was the second season intro. So in the first season, we had a couple of. The show was more like Doctor Who. That was kind of like the show. It was more cerebral.
It wasn't time travel, was it?
No, it wasn't. But then they decided after the first season that the American market, which we really did like it, but they felt that the American market needed more Americanized action.
More guns.
Right. So what they did was they killed off a couple of characters, we assume, because they just disappeared. And they brought on the woman you saw at the end. Her name is Maya. And in the first episode of season 2, she was from a planet called, I can't think of the name of the planet right now, but she was an alien who can change shape. She can look at something and she can change her shape. And that was a new dynamic to the show. She could become an animal, she could become a person, a bug, whatever. And she was also smart. She was a science officer, like Spock, but could change her form if needed for the good and the bad.
So if you threw a ball in the spaceship, she turned into a dog and go chase the ball?
Absolutely. And she did. She actually turned into a dog, which is kind of weird because she never saw a dog. She was on her planet, but she turned into a dog and a gorilla, which was kind of weird.
Okay.
But she did.
Damn,
but,
okay.
But even look here, this is the cockpit of the ship. If you just look at this, you're looking at, 1975, just the
There were miniatures
detail.
Back then.
There were miniatures. They're all models, but the attention to detail, I think, is very, very good for that season. So again, the
no
effects.
CGI here, folks.
No, there's no CGI. Now there were some bad reasons for that, like the hand phasers when they shot them. I like the phaser, but you can step out of the way. I mean, they draw the line.
Oh,
when
really?
When the eagle shoots a laser, it's like. I mean, you can walk out of the way of it, but
let me just step 1 inch over and you miss.
You can. So again, this is
That's
probably
funny.
Since I grew up with this. I knew about Star Trek, but this is like the first show.
So 2 seasons.
2 seasons. That was it. And I will admit, the second season had some big turds. Had some really big turds in it.
I'm gonna have to watch this again.
Yeah, the first season.
I watched it. I think a few episodes when I was a kid.
It's on YouTube. You can watch all of this right now on YouTube or on Amazon Prime. They're free to watch. The first season, I think, as I've aged, I absolutely like the first season a lot better. But there are a couple of gems in the second season. But there really are some really bad ones in that second season, which is what killed the show. They brought an American producer in who came from Star Trek, and he actionized it to the point where, I mean, there was one episode. I'm not kidding. There was one episode where they fought trees, and I'm not even talking moving trees. I'm talking trees that don't move, just trees. So that's
creative writing, right there.
That was creative writing, and it was quite bad. So I'm going to put down in the chat here. I don't know if anyone has ever watched the show or heard of the show, but I want to know if anyone here has seen.
Yeah, let us know if you guys
have you watched this show.
Maybe some of you guys weren't born in 1975.
Most probably were not.
But my brother would have been 2 years old at that time.
Now, I did torture my good friend Mary Parker at the time when she was living up here. I made her watch a couple of episodes, and she was a trooper. She seemed like she was really interested, but I know for a fact she was not. But she did
probably wanted to gouge her eyes out.
She probably did, but she gave it a good shot. But what I do like about the show, I'm going to bring up a couple of pictures. I'm going to take this. Let me get the slideshow up here for a second. So one of the things that was really neat about the show, if I can find it, was this device right here. This was called the Comlock. Now, in Star Trek, they had a tricorder, and they had the communicator, separate, devices, right? So this Comlock was your communicator. It was a TV on the top right here. The blue, if you look at the picture right here on the blue part, that was a TV set. So it was really cool. They would talk to someone, they hold it up to their face, and they would see the person. There was a black and white TV developed in it's like 73. I think it was Panasonic. It had the smallest CRT tube, and that's what they used in here. So you had a almost like a real cell phone of today, more so than Star Trek.
Phone.
Correct.
Cell phone, yeah.
And it was also your key. So when you walked around,
too.
A little bit, but when you walked around, you pressed a button and you and it lets you in. If you didn't have the right code, on your comm lock, you couldn't go into certain areas. So it was your key, it was your communication device, it was your TV device, it was your tricording device, it was everything. And this, I thought that was very, even more so than Star Trek, forward thinking. They credit Star Trek with the flip phones, but I really think that Space 1999 with these comm locks is much closer to cell phones.
What we know today.
Today, right?
Yeah. That's interesting. I'll have to watch it for sure, because how many episodes total?
24 each season. So it's 24 for the first season and 24 for the second season. And honestly,
now, let me ask you a question here. Did they wrap up did they do like your typical Hollywood TV back in the day where the second season ends and you're like, how come this ended like this? And they didn't sort of wrap it up?
Well, yeah. So basically, there's a yes and a no. So officially, no. It just got canceled. So everyone assumed for a long time they got stuck on there, and everyone died on the base. But on YouTube, if you do a search, they actually got some original characters. Professor Bergman and Sandra and a few other people did like quick takes, and basically found out that in fact they did find a planet and called it New Terra, and they survived. And someone actually there were two fan-made videos. One was a fan-made video of, I think it was called Terra Nova. That's where they ended up, on Terra Nova.
Okay.
And they all abandoned the moon, but they found out where it was. So one person took a ship and got back to the moon and kind of walked around and saw how the place was. So that was kind of cool. But there's one that got removed from YouTube. I actually got a copy. I had downloaded before they removed it. It was called Galactica 1999. And that was amazing. So, the whole point of Battlestar Galactica was they were looking for Earth, right? So they're flying through space, lost, and they come across the moon. And of course, the moon has the Alphans on it. And Cylons, and they did a really good job. There was an episode called, in Space 1999, called War Games. I think it was like a third episode. Called War Games, where the moon is basically getting like
not
blasted.
Related to the movie with Matthew Broderick.
Not at all. And then in Battlestar Galactica, they had the episode where, I forgot what episode it was, but it was like a space shuttle flying through space, and they captured it, and people were on it. They thought they were from Earth because they were from Terra, and they took them to a planet. So they took these two episodes and combined it into one called Galactica in 1999, and the Cylons were attacking the moon, and it looked like it was believable that they did that the Galactica came in and Vipers came in and took care of them, and then they got onto the Galactica.
Wait.
Yes.
Space 1999 and Battlestar Galactica are part of the same universe, is what you're telling me?
According to this fan-made video.
This fan thing, okay.
Right. But it jived. Okay, it jived together so well. I mean, it's believable that it was in the same universe, but I think it actually got pulled off of YouTube because obviously it was trademark on both. But I have a copy, and there's some way I can get it out for people to watch this again. It was so well done. I really enjoyed it. But anyway, the reason you watch this, why do people watch like the Indy 500? Why do people watch that? They're not watching people go in circles. Why are they really watching it?
The crashes. The crashes,
exactly. So that's the eagle there, and that's why you watch this show, to watch all these eagles crash. And I actually have a small video here of just that. So let's take a quick look at that.
Sandra, readings.
Radiation count normal, magnetic field 0.
Holy sideburns.
Okay, Paul, set her down. Right, Commander.
And even using a remote control for the ship, I thought was pretty cool for the time.
Blast her out of there, Paul.
Analog joysticks.
So, I mean, that's where you watch the show for the most part. Who's going to crash the Eagle? Usually there's a guy named Alan Carter.
And sideburns.
Well, the sideburns, it's 75, but there was a guy named Alan Carter.
They're ginormous sideburns, man.
they were, and it's also, England, they had the big stashes and all that stuff. And the chest hair. Oh my God. When we had an episode with in the doctor's office, and they take the shirts off, it's like a rainforest on everyone's chest, except for the women. But the guys.
Hey, baby.
If you remember, like Steve Austin from the $6 Million Man, takes his shirt off. That's what you had there. You could lose a hand inside the chest hair
Yeah,
back
exactly.
then. But
I know it was popular. Like when I was a kid, there was I think there was toys for this show too.
there was. Actually, look at the background right there.
I remember that. Like you and I didn't talk about this, but I remember there being toys for that show.
Actually, the biggest toy was from Mattel. Mattel actually made a 2-foot eagle, and I had one as a kid. But of course, that got thrown out years ago. But now those things are going for like $1,000 if you can get one in box, in a kit. But
really,
there are now other companies. I'm going to do a video hopefully over the weekend. Some stuff I just got from a new company making new products for this show. And I forgot to mention in the beginning, the person who produced this was Jerry Anderson. Does that ring a bell to you, Jerry Anderson? Does anybody in the chat? No. I'm going to put it out there. Does anyone in the chat know who produced or the producer of Jerry Anderson did? He did a lot of shows that I know a lot of people know. So I just want to see before I tell you the answer, if anyone in the chat knows who Jerry Anderson Jerry and Sylvia Anderson are who produced this show. Because if no one knows, I think you'll be surprised when I tell you who actually did produce the show. But it brings back a lot of good memories. A lot of the stories are good. One, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm not going to tell you about the episode, but there's an episode called Dragon's Other Dominion. And maybe Jen will watch that with me. To this day, it haunts me. When you're a kid, even adults, even adults to this day say they watch an episode and they're freaked out by that episode. I remember seeing it, and it was worse than when I saw Alien. I mean, it really, really scared the hell out of me. And even to this day, when I think of that episode, it gives me chills. It was that good an episode. And this was a TV show, not a movie. This was on television. And the show terrorized a lot of people that long.
You weren't supposed to be watching that at 6 years old, 7 years old.
No, but this was on prime time. This was like 7, 8 o'clock at night. This was a prime time show.
Yeah.
But again, I guess things were. I think we have an answer here. Is it? I can't pronounce his thing. Is it BTR Bibble? If that's it is here, he got it right. It's the guy behind Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds Go. He did that show. Captain Scarlet. Those kind of shows. What they're called.
And Team America.
Well, that was a spoof. That was a spoof of that, though. But
I know that's what it was.
BTR Bibble, if I'm pronouncing that right, got it right. So he did Thunderbirds. He did a Supercar. He did Captain Scarlet. He did all those things, which were like little puppets. He even did the probably not people remember this from the 80s. It was called Thunderbirds, not Thunderbirds. Terrahawks. And Terrahawks came out. I think I want to say it was 84. So it was, but it was still puppets. But it was about these aliens who invaded Mars, and they put a base on Mars. They kept trying to attack the Earth, but it was all animatronics. And they had BB-8 from the new Star Wars I don't talk about. They kind of had those kind of robots in there before BB-8 was a BB-8. So the show, like I said, the first season was definitely the better show. It definitely had some shows that will make you stay awake at night. The second season tried to do more of action, and I said some worked out well. There's a couple episodes that really played off well. And Maya, I think, did a good job in her role as an alien who just got stuck on this moon. She got I don't want to say what happened, but she got stuck on the base, and they're all just trying to find a home. I mean, that's all they want to do. They don't care about wars. They don't care about COVID.
Survival.
Yeah, they're just trying to. They don't even know if Earth made it. I don't want to give anything of that away. They don't even know if the Earth survived. Because remember, the moon got ripped away from the Earth. So, did the Earth survive?
The tides would be
tides,
up,
plate tectonics, the gravity being distorted. Did the Earth even survive of this happening? So they're like, can we even go home? And if we find where the Earth is, can we even go home? So it was kind of a very dark. And this guy this guy right here,
all grim.
Something happens to him again on the show. That was
a Jesus beard going.
He does, but something happens to him again that's so dark. I mean, I'm talking dark. That happens to him in an episode. That again, when you're a kid watching it, you're like, "What? Yeah, I don't want to go to sleep."
Yeah. That's funny.
But
this wasn't based on any other universe or anything.
Actually,
right? So, like
yes,
Japan did the whole Galactica thing.
Yes.
Where did it have a sister show?
It did.
Show, whatever?
This is basically same universe as a TV show called UFO. and that was also Jerry Anderson. Have you ever heard of that show? That came out, I want to say in '72. It was basically, once again, there's a secret thing called Shadow on Earth. It's us, we're the spies. And these aliens keep trying to come down here, and they're doing stuff on the planet. We don't know what they're doing. So every time we detect one of these UFOs coming down, they send Shadow in to investigate it. And this show is directly tied to it because they canceled that show from ratings. And he basically, this is the same universe. There's some tie-ins with that show called UFO. Cool. So I learned that out later in life. I do remember the show UFO.
The more you know.
The more you know. That's exactly it.
With the little star going across.
Exactly here. So I'm looking at the chat right here. I was terrified of Luke Ferrigno and the Hulk as a kid. He was a big guy. The Planet Splits. Yeah, that show was kind of freaky too.
I was questioning my visual life choices with Luke Ferrigno and the Hulk. Meaning,
what was that?
Is there a person that actually exists? Like, when you're really young, you just like, is this guy real with green skin? And he's angry all the time? Like, I didn't understand as a kid, you know what I mean?
I just had the hand coming towards you, and that was it.
Ever. I heard that later. Lou Ferrigno's the nicest guy ever.
He is.
And he was deaf, or partially deaf.
He was. He was partially deaf. Don't go look at the chat. I'm sorry, the poll. So 53% said they have watched the show. 47% said they have not. And I want to anyone who did watch the show, put a 1 if you think someone should give the show a shot, or a 0.
A remake.
If you think they shouldn't. And they said a remake would, I think, still play very well, especially in our current times right now, energy crisis, and nuclear weapons and stuff along those lines.
You could do CGI super easy with all the frills, in a sense, and that's, I think they would need to update that logo, but
right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you right now the third thing I was going to show you guys, which was kind of what happened. So again, there's the moon. We're putting all this nuclear waste on the far side of the moon, and something was happening. They weren't sure what, but pilots were flying over it, and they were getting brain damage, and brain dead, and they had no idea why. So I'm going to play this part right here, and let's kind of see what happens.
Spoiler territory?
Well, it's from 1975. You should be spoiled at this point. So basically what they're doing right now is they determined that all this waste is too close together, and it's generating magnetic fields, and it's generating heat. So they're trying to disperse it. They're trying to defuse the bomb, if you will.
Computed and programmed.
But even the cockpit, I think this cockpit of the ship looks really good, even by today's standards. And Martin Landau passed away a few years ago, and here comes Moon-Based Jesus, as you said.
Too early to tell. And I must say, it does look pretty promising to me. Well done.
He's a politician. He's like, everything's going to be fine. We're fine. I'm going to tell everyone everything's fine.
Give us more time to consider our next move.
That actor looks...
You see, John, I see men risking their lives to avert disaster. Total disaster.
One,
Metal Jesus guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
If this goes wrong,
it's familiar. I don't know where it's from before, but...
There will be no survivors.
Commander, it's going up.
The whole thing exploded?
Blew up that eagle. They ain't coming home.
Eagles, return to base immediate. Repeat,
And
return to base immediate.
So again, I think the effects they did here were just phenomenal for the time. Practical effects. What guy doesn't like blowing stuff up?
Okay, that's every kid. When I was a kid, I was like...
So it creates this big nuclear explosion that is so big, it literally acts like an engine. It pushes the moon out of orbit. Which I thought was a really ingenious idea, although it never happened.
The beginning of the...
Correct.
Dramatic. Shaking hands.
I can't move.
We should do some lip reading.
Chief,
Well, what's happening here that's being pushed so hard, they're getting under G-forces. They're being crushed on the floor.
So much of that.
So, again, I think if you haven't seen the show, again, it's free. You don't have to even pay for it. I think it's definitely a worthy watch on the show. And we got a bunch of ones in here from Adam and Jennifer and Bonos and Goofyfoot. So
I don't have anything to type, but I'll put a 1. I should remake it, sure. I got my phone, and the chat's gone.
And again, if you like the old Doctor, even some of the new Doctor, with like the old Doctor Who, there's some really, again, and some horror, because again, some of these episodes were like literal horror. I don't know how they got it on the airways in America.
It was dark.
75.
And you're gonna die, and you're in space. And...
But in creepy, I mean, like horror creepy. I'm talking like gives you chills. It freaks you out. It really does freak you out. And unlike Star Trek and other shows of the time, most of these don't have happy endings. They just don't. These people are trapped. They're desperate. People are cooped up with people maybe they don't like.
You know what? This gives us an idea for another episode. What day's Halloween on this year?
This year? Let's see.
Have a look. What I was going to propose is that we talk about 80s horror movies.
It's on a Monday, so we have to do it on the 28th. That'd be the best we could do is the 28th, because Halloween's on the
That's fine.
on the Monday.
Why don't we do that? We'll decide it right today. The 28th, we're going to round up our favorite horror movies.
That's a great idea.
Cheesy or not. And then we'll talk about our favorite 80s horror movies and which ones freaked you out as a kid and which one made you lose sleep, and and we'll find all that out and say, okay, that one freaked me out. Nightmares for months, whatever. And at least there we can.
Oh no! I read a horrible. I just read a horrible chat. Goofyfoot. I destroyed all my Space 99 toys on the 4th of July. I can't say.
You just heard Glenn right there.
Well, I did. I kind of did the same thing. I mean, I used to take I used to have a bunch of Eagles. I actually had the 2-foot one, like I said. I had smaller models. I used to get Revell used to make models you can build. MPs. Right. I used to put bottle rockets on it, and because they always crashed. They always crashed. You would blow them up. I actually had an Estes rocket. They actually made an Estes rocket Eagle. So you just launched up the rocket. It came down in a parachute though, but I see, like I feel his pain. I did the exact same thing.
Look at the explosions that went on that preview. You guys wanted to do the exact same thing.
Oh, we totally did.
If my stuff didn't fly into 1,000 pieces, it's not the real thing. That's what it was. You guys saw that and you went, I'm making my stuff blow up. Done.
I agree with Hobby Hands here. The new Star Trek STD, and that's its name. It's called Star Trek Discovery. STD gives Hobby Hands not horrors and nightmares, and it does me too. My brother and I, we forced ourselves to watch the first season, and I say forced as a kind word.
Let's hope it gets better the next episode.
Yeah.
Let's hope it gets better the next episode, and it's not.
And they're going on, I think they're on the 6th season now. How the hell did that show go 6 seasons? I don't get it.
I don't know. I like Strange New Worlds instead.
I do like Strange New Worlds, but they're
what's better.
They're getting the right strings to me, but his entire bridge, and I don't mean to be sexist, but his entire bridge are women. And when Kirk had it, what did he do? He fired all the women and had all guys put on board. There's no consistency in that time frame, and then
they should mix it up, and that's it.
A little bit,
be done with it.
But having Khan's great granddaughter on an Enterprise, I mean, come on, Steve.
Yeah,
that's weak.
They're reaching. Yeah.
Now Nooner, how about this one? So I don't know if you had this up there, Steven. Did you have Evil Knievel toys? Because Nooner says that he used to place Evil Knievel toys. You had the motorcycle. You went like this, and you would spin the motorcycle out,
and then you'd put it in a holder and you'd press a button and it would release and go or whatever. I thought it was one with a crank with a pull plastic thing.
That might have been. Back then they made a toy out of everything.
One with the crank and you press the button. And
it was a base. You put the motorcycle in the base and you went like this and you launched it.
The button, it hit the ground and
had a big metal flywheel in the back, but kept it balanced. My when you were talking about the Hulk before, Zero Redux says the first Hulk transformation was pretty intense when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, it was like, holy crap. We'll talk about the horror movies because those affected me way more, but it was just the whole Hulk thing was kind of interesting. But it's, I think back then, like all this small model stuff, I prefer those special effects because it just looked better.
If it was done right,
so
if it was done right, I mean, I'm going to be honest. Jerry Anderson's little puppeteer effects were not generally the best, but the person who did the special effects here literally came off of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and actually he started working. He actually did Star Wars as well, but this was obviously wrapping up production pretty much by the time they were doing Star Wars. But I know that there was some trouble with this for two reasons. Like I said, one, some of the techniques from this were now being used in Star Wars. There was a lot of people fighting back and forth about that. And then, of course, Battlestar Galactica was more infamous for that because the effects that were done in this show went into Star Wars, and then Space 99 Star Wars went into Battlestar Galactica. And there was a whole big lawsuit from Lucas on that. And then the person who was doing the original effects for the pilot episode of Galactica ended up leaving the show because he's like, listen, you know what? I just wanted to make good effects. I don't want to deal with this. And he kind of walked away from it, which is kind of sad.
Did you say the show aged well?
This show? I will say the first season actually did, aside from the sideburns, which I get.
Yeah. Sure.
But as far as the effects and the computer, for 1975, I think still holds up pretty well. The second season, I think visually holds up a little bit even better. I don't know if they changed the cameras or what they used to film in it. It just looked a little more realistic. But the storylines and the acting went right down the tank. I mean,
really?
It's like you went from
that bad.
You went from like Shakespeare down to Barney. It's really like you'll know season 1 episodes from season 2 episodes, even if you're halfway through it, because you'll know. It's just you can tell.
Oh wow, that's
big time, and that's what killed it. I actually think if they continued it with the first season's more cerebral type of storylines versus, killer trees that can't even move, they just kill you by, I don't know, thinking it, whatever.
Being around you.
Yeah. I will say though, again, they pushed the envelope here. There were naked people in here, which you knew were naked, but you couldn't quite see. And I'm assuming that's because this was all done in England. It might have been a little more liberal and allowed. But again, I'm a 5 or 6 year old kid watching the show.
Oh, there's skin. Whoa.
It's like, what? What? What are they? What is that? What?
I better not say anything. You just sort of. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of these shows from that era that did not age well. And it's like I can name a couple of them that I did a while back, and I think the one that comes to mind the most, and it's not the hijack this Space 1999 episode here, but the one TV show I remembered and I watched again later on was The Man from Atlantis.
I remember that show.
And I watched it again when I was in my 30s, and
didn't age
it wasn't available on DVD or anything, so I had to pirate the damn thing from some guy that had VHS copies or something.
You didn't pay for it.
And I watched it. No, but you couldn't buy it. So I was like, I'll watch it again. Dude, I couldn't get past 2 episodes.
I have the same story.
Terrible.
I have the same story, but the Muppet Show. As a kid,
I remembered them better.
The Muppet Show, it was magic when that show was on. Loved it, laughed. I put it on for my son Cole. My brother came over, looked at it like, oh my God, we watched this? Yeah. What? Mind control? What? It was so bad. It was almost like the Star Wars.
2 guys up in the balcony were the better parts of that.
That was probably the only saving grace. The rest of it was like the holiday special from Star Wars. That's kind of what it brings back.
Mark Hamill did appear on the Muppet Show.
He did, and it was just as bad as you would think it would be.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But yeah, that's the thing. That's why I'm asking about the holding up questions of Space 1999.
Right.
Is it like The Men from Atlantis, where we remembered it as kids, and then we actually watch it as adults, and it's the exact same show?
Yep.
Then you watch it, and you're like, "What the hell was I thinking?" As a
no,
child?
this holds up. I think the '78 Battlestar Galactica still holds up. I think the $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman hold up to a point, but
I haven't watched them again.
They hold up
back
to a point, but again, you have to take into account the way they dress. Like saying right here with the sideburns, you got to take those into account. But I think a lot of the stories still hold up fairly well.
I think it's good storytelling that holds up in general.
Right.
Just across the board. If it's really good storytelling, it'll hold up for years to come. If it's piss poor, then people are just going to be like, what was I thinking? And as a kid, you don't pay attention to the story as much as an adult.
Right.
Where you would just, but at least if it's Space 1999 holds up, hey, give it a watch.
This holds more memory for me because my father was a truck driver. He was at home a lot. He's always kind of on the road.
Okay.
But there's certain shows he absolutely would watch with me. It was, $6 Man, if he was home, we'd watch that. Star Trek, we'd watch that together. And Space 1999. Those were like the 3 shows he watched. He never watched Battlestar Galactica really with me. I think he kind of just wasn't interested in that. But these he kind of did enjoy. And I want to read a quick comment here from Bonafide Picker. Evel Knievel broke my mom's china cabinet. Eesh, glass door. I had nothing to do with it. I could see that happening back then.
It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man.
Goofy Floyd just brought up another toy. You remember Big Track?
Oh, yeah.
I had that and had the little dumpster on the back.
Oh, really?
It fell down the stairs. I programmed it wrong, went down the stairs, and that was it for my Big Track.
That was it for that, I guess.
Yep.
The big wheels. Remember the big wheels?
Those are the ones you rode on, though.
You rode on, you sat down, it had a big wheel in the front.
Yep.
And then it had a handbrake that would do crazy donuts.
I'm pretty sure Jen says she hated that with a passion. And Jen, correct if I'm wrong, she hated it.
I didn't have one. I couldn't afford it.
I didn't have one either.
Had one. I had a pedal bike, Star Wars characters by Kenner, a few stompers.
I had it was called a Cheetah. Which was like if you took the big wheel and you stretched it really, really long, and instead of a pedal like this, you pushed the pedals like that, and actually went much faster. But it was also heavier back then. I had more weight behind it. Once I was going, man, you better get in my way because it was not easy, not easy to stop in those things.
Wow. But definitely, well, that's good that it's on YouTube for sure. So
it's YouTube. It's on YouTube and it's also on Amazon. And it's not you don't have to pay to watch it
in the U.S. I don't know if it's in Canada, but I'll have to check.
Another great time to talk about my sponsor, NordVPN. With NordVPN, you can go into other countries and log in and unlock things like being in the States and getting Space 1999 on Amazon or YouTube without having to pay for it. NordVPN, protect yourself.
Well, people just can't get an extra account for the U.S. or anything. They can't.
With NordVPN, it doesn't matter.
Can.
That's right.
That's right. You'll be able to do it.
NordVPN can.
There you go.
A new slogan.
That's what we need to come up with a new slogan for these guys.
We do.
So that's cool.
He'd help them.
So what are we doing for time? I have no idea what time it is at all.
Oh, so we got about another 15 minutes or so.
Oh, okay, cool.
To talk.
I just don't have a clock near me at all. It's like usually I have the clock when we're doing our podcast here or show, and I'm looking, and now I got nothing. I got this white wall behind me, and that's it, and the phone really small, and it's pretty.
That's
bad.
Okay. That's okay. You still made it. That's the big important thing.
Yeah.
Just go see some comments here. We have people going through here. Let's see what we got here. Spiky 911 USA. I remember getting a phaser pistol from Woolco. They used to have those little phasers, but you put it was almost like a top type of copter. You would shoot it and it would spin off. You ever see those, Steven?
Yeah.
So I used to have a Star Trek phaser.
The ones with the little discs.
That's it. The one you shoot out.
Discs.
The ones that shot out.
That had like a little circular disc, looks like about the size of a dime or a nickel.
And they were foam or plastic. I had a Star Trek phaser like
plastic.
that. Yes, I remember that.
Plastic, and if you got that in the eyeball, man, you were hurting for a couple of days.
It was the 70s. It was okay to lose an eye back then.
It was fun.
You had a patch. You was walking around cool in school.
You were cool. Yeah, you were. What was the guy from Save New York? Snake.
Yes, Snake Plissken Run. Real quick, Bonafide Picker again, and I haven't seen this yet myself. I know it exists. I think it's on Netflix. Bonafide Picker says, I watched Moonfall last week, a recent movie. Bad reviews, but I thought it was goofy fun. Check it out. It was the opposite. Instead of the moon getting pushed away from the Earth and disappearing, it pushed into the Earth.
Oh, really?
Yes. So that is on Netflix, and it's on my to-do list to watch, but I haven't actually seen it yet. What else we got in here?
I've been neglecting Netflix. I still got to watch Cobra Kai, the 5th season.
Yes. If anyone is out there, I'm telling you right now,
Yet.
Cobra Kai season 5. I'm really 4. I felt was Melrose Place. I really felt it was going to be like Melrose Place. It was
I haven't
a
watched
soap
the fifth
opera.
one yet.
But season
So,
5,
I haven't watched it.
Season 5, I'm digging. I feel like that cereal commercial with the.
Are you all done, or is it your?
No, we are halfway through. We have season 5 of 10, but really enjoying it so far. Much better than season 4. I was going to almost like if season 5 is like season 4, I'm done. But season 5, it's good, and I'm still waiting for Invincible to come back, and I still have to watch season 3 of The Boys. Still have to get that in there.
The Boys is good too. Yeah. My buddy just started watching Daredevil.
The
Netflix
new series?
Daredevil?
The old one, or it's a remake now? Because there was one on a year ago they took off. It's still on there?
Netflix, they took off.
I thought they
put it on
did.
Disney Plus now.
Gotcha.
So they moved, but my buddy never saw it. And I said, "Oh, you got to watch it." And he's thanking me now. He's like, "Oh my God, it's so good." I say, "I told you."
Zero Redux. Remember Shogun Warriors and Godzilla with the flying fist. The flying fist. Remember that one?
Oh yeah. Remember Ultraman?
I never really. I think I saw one movie with Ultraman, but he was always at NES games. It was like a big thing with Ultraman.
Oh no, dude! They had a whole. He was like a kung fu robot guy from Japan.
Was he giant, or he can get giant? He can get big.
Well, he wasn't, and then it was like Ultraman versus Godzilla, and you're like, well, how the hell that happened? They had a whole experiment.
Oh, they had early Viagra.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And it was like, oh, okay, cool, I guess, so.
They actually should they should have a TV channel or streaming channel that shows all these old films, like the old Godzilla films, the old Kung Fu films.
There might be on Plex. Plex has a free TV streaming, and they have one that's old Kung Fu movies.
Really? I've heard of it.
Chinese ones.
Yeah, I've heard of Plex.
Well, Plex is a streaming platform.
Yep.
That you set up a server at your house, all that stuff.
Yep.
But they have a TV channel section where it's all, old kung fu movies with the guys that fly straight up in a straight line, and
for like 10 miles.
Oh yeah. They just fly like they're gonna kick somebody.
Spiky 911 USA said it's also on Pluto TV, and Pluto TV is free. So this is not a paid promotion for Pluto TV. Actually, I learned today that I have to, I guess, announce if we're doing a promotion. So I am doing a promotion for NordVPN. So make sure that you all guys know that.
That's it.
Yes. So everyone knows.
We will not bow down to any sponsors except for NordVPN.
Right. Right now, for sure.
For now.
And
if you guys know people that'll send us some free shit, go for it.
Nooner. I remember watching Barney Miller. I used to watch Barney Miller and Hardy Boys. I remember both of that with his grandpa. So that also triggers a lot of things. That triggers a lot of memories. It does, these shows.
Oh yeah, Barney Miller. Well, then you start getting into All of the Family and Jeffersons and. But
I think the big reason was back then, it was more of an event because if you didn't go home in time, you missed the episode.
You missed it. Oh yeah.
You missed it, and you have to wait for a repeat.
To watch that thing at 8. That's it.
Right, and if you have to wait for a repeat, your friends know already talking about it. Like, oh, don't tell me, and they're telling you all about it because they're your friends. And they're going to totally spoil it for you.
Next morning was Spoiler City in the schoolyard. Every time.
I had to tell you when Battlestar Galactica 1978 came out. We were in. I was I don't know how old. I was 9, I guess, when that came out. And the big thing at school was you couldn't say curse words, but you could say frack. You could say Felgacarb. So all the teachers look at you like, that's fracking ridiculous. He's like, what does that mean? He says, oh, nothing. Because he had no idea. But we know we're cursing. Felgacarb, all those things. Yeah, so these were educational shows. It wasn't just science fiction. It was actually educational. How to curse to your teacher and your principal without getting in trouble. You can't get Felgacarb's not a bad word. Frack's not a bad word. It's not.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things that back then, like we talked about, you weren't in front of that TV, man. That's it. And if you went to bed early and your parents were strict in any way, you got to not watch the cool shows.
No, and your bedtime could ruin it too.
I went to bed at 7 or 8.
I'm saying the bedtime was a problem. When Battlestar Galactica was on at 9 to 10. I was like, please let me stay. Nope, I had to wait a couple a while till it got canceled. Then it was on, sometimes 6 o'clock. like Channel 9.
Well, that's
It's a weird
exactly
thing.
it. Like there was a lot of shows I had to go to bed. Like that Spider-Man TV series that was out in the early '80s
We were
with
shooting
the rope
ropes
coming out of
Yeah,
his wrist there.
ropes,
Yeah.
ropes.
Well, I had to go to bed. Time for bed. I'm like, no, it's Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it actually
He's
wasn't.
my hero.
It actually wasn't horrible, but really didn't miss much. But it wasn't
Oh
horrible.
no, I found that out later, and it's like the man from Atlantis. You watch it again later, and you're like, what the hell was I thinking?
You know what the worst part was in that show?
As a kid.
When he would climb the buildings, and obviously have the building, he's like flat or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's got his arms down, but he's not like kneeling. It's like his legs are straight, so his ass is up here,
Sticking up,
and his head's down here. I'm like, Spider-Man would not be crawling up a place like that. It's just
he wasn't actually crawling. He was playing wheelbarrow.
It was like Batman. If you remember Batman, back in the 70s, they're going up like this, but they were just walking. Just walking, and then someone stick their head out, and they're the ones like on their back, putting their head out the window. But they're
that whole scene became a big joke because they had like superstars in the windows.
Yes,
go by.
Exactly.
It became a non-running joke, like, oh, look, Sammy Davis Jr.'s in the window this week, and then they go back the same window the following week, and then it's somebody else. Oh, look, we got. I don't know, Phyllis Diller or whatever.
Right.
Window.
Right.
And it was the next week with somebody else. And the gag, even when I was a kid, I was like, oh, who's it going to be the next week? And sometimes it wasn't there. Sometimes it was. It's pretty interesting.
Spiky 9/11, he's got a lot of good comments today. He's like, face it, the Muppet Show wasn't that great back then. I was young.
No, it wasn't.
I was young. Again, the old guys were hysterical. It was fun. It was, but it did not remotely hold up at all.
My only favorite characters on it was Fozzie Bear and the two old guys.
Waka waka waka.
And the chef.
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
I'd laugh every time I'd see the chef. Doop, 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 and then it's like I'd howl, but everything else, like when they'd start singing, I'd leave the room.
I like Pigs in Space. Pigs in Space were good.
That was pretty funny too. Yeah. Pigs in Space. So they had moments, but it wasn't great. Like we recently went to Florida to Disney, and they have a Muppets section.
That was good though.
See a show.
Yeah, the old guys are actually in the background and stuff.
Yeah. They're up there. Their projection, I think.
Muppets 4D.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Muppets 4D.
It was okay.
It was, and it's been there forever. It's really been there forever. I was a kid. It was there.
Oh wow. Okay.
I was like 13.
We almost missed it when we went there. We almost walked past it. I was let's go check out the Muppet thing.
Did you see that big water fountain? And that's what gave it away? They had the big Miss Piggy and the big water fountain outside?
I don't even know if I remember seeing that.
You got to see Miss Piggy as a water fountain.
Yeah, I guess I missed it. Who knows? And it wasn't far from the Star Wars section either. What's now the Star Wars?
It's not the same. Isn't it Kylo Ren in that thing? They took Vader out, and now it's Kylo Ren coming out now. Is it? It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's dead to me. Dead to me, Disney. Kathleen Kennedy, you killed Disney for me. I'm not going back there.
We won't get started on that this week, but yeah. Yeah, so it's one of those things. You know what I mean?
Actually, Zero Redux has said something here. Only Muppets I love is The Great Muppet Caper. I will say that the movies held up much better.
Yeah, they had a better production quality.
Right, they were a little bit better. But the TV show, I just remember, oh my God, I got copies of it. I'm going to watch this. And
did you watch Fraggle Rock?
Actually, fun fact, my uncle worked for HBO at the time. So not only did I watch Fraggle Rock,
wasn't it?
No, Fraggle Rock was completely. It was Jim Henson.
Sort of?
It was just Jim Henson, but I actually met through my uncle. I actually went to Jim Henson's studio in New York City, so I actually saw the Fraggles. I saw them making the Fraggles. It was an amazing experience. I met Jim Henson, an amazing guy. Everyone in that creature shop it was amazing. When I had gone there, and actually also he was involved with Farscape. And it wasn't for it wasn't for my uncle and someone in England with a lot of money. They never would have made the last finale 2-hour episode that kind of tied everything together. Because the show got canceled. It just got canceled,
gotcha.
And a multi-millionaire reached out and says, "I want to see the end. So take this." And my uncle drew up the contract, and in fact, he gave me. My uncle got a letter from Jim Henson and a watch. For this,
Wow.
he gave that to me. It's in my collection, and
don't ever get rid of that.
I even have the pre-production. Yeah, videotapes. DVDs weren't really big yet. I got 2 videotapes that were pre-release. So I actually saw the finale like 6 months before they started even having it on like Sci-Fi Channel, and it was hard to keep I promised I had to keep my mouth shut
closed
and not tell anyone, because he would have gotten in trouble. It was obviously his, and he'd given it to me because I told him I was such a huge fan of the show. So very fortunate in my life with a lot of things.
That's cool.
I'm blessed with certain things for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Your uncle's still living, or is he passed
He
away,
is. My aunt passed away last year, but my uncle's still here, and he's retired from all that. But he's a good uncle. He actually, another fact, he had one of the original posters that said "Revenge of the Jedi."
Oh yeah,
real poster. He gave it to he gave me later on the Farscape stuff. He gave my cousin Nikki the Jedi one. He lost it.
Oh,
Worth who knows how much money. Lost. Revenge of the Jedi poster from Lucas. Here's Lucas. Here you go, Mr. Guido. Here's this poster. Take it and cherish it forever. And my cousin lost it.
Damn.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap up in a minute, but I want to say real quick, everyone in Florida, I know my Mary and the Parkers, or my friends and family, Adam Caleb is down there. Angel's down there. Definitely hope everything's okay. I know there was some areas that got flooded pretty bad. That people actually are on their roofs. Much worse than my basement flooding.
Oh, I saw the stuff on the news. Holy crap.
Yeah, so
pretty nasty.
I hope everyone, if you guys are safe, and if your family and friends, anyone you know is in Florida, I hope they're all safe. Hope things working out.
My buddy Tony has 2
down there.
daughters in Sarasota, and they lost power, and they were told to hunker down, and that's it. So hopefully everybody's safe down there.
Agreed. And well, like I said, next week we won't be on. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to work next weekend. We'll be back the following weekend, and we'll have a guest, I'm assuming, at that time.
Maybe.
Maybe.
We're having fun, the 2 of us, but
we are.
Get another guest.
We are. And if not, maybe we'll talk about I don't know. We'll talk about.
We'll figure something out.
Something.
It's a surprise.
Right. The one thing about our show here is it's really not about anything. Just as long as it's older than yesterday. We could talk about on the show.
Good conversation about the old days.
We do, and we have great people in the chat. We have a lot of people come in every time, and we really appreciate seeing you guys here all the time.
Yeah, great community.
The comments they put in there, some are pretty funny. And again, that's what the show is about. Just all of us talking, remembering things. If you guys listen, shoot me a message. Glenn's Retro Show at gmail.com. A lot of you guys hit me up on Facebook anyway. If you got some good show ideas or stuff you remember, maybe we didn't even think about.
Yeah.
Give us some ideas. We'll be more than happy to talk about it. Even if you want to come on the show, have on the show. It's all good. Family and friends here.
Reach out.
So with that, I know, Stephen, you've got to go. I'm going to let everyone phase out on one last showing of the moon getting blasted out of Earth's orbit, and I'll end the broadcast. So, Stephen, enjoy the family up there. Everyone else here, I hope you have a safe and happy weekend, and everyone in the family are safe. And with that being said, you can game on, but also make sure your spaceship and your toxic waste is kept safe. We don't want to lose our moon again. You know what I'm saying?
Put it on the far side of the moon.
That's it. Having a good night, everyone. I'll end the broadcast after this.
Good night, guys.
I think we should go for another 100, Commander.
Eagle 1 to Alpha.
Go ahead, one.
Liftoff complete. Trajectory computed and programmed. I will be in orbit in 4 minutes. All levels are holding steady. You think we have it under control, John?
Too early to tell.
And I must say, it does look pretty promising to me. Well done. Now, I have to issue a communique sooner or later. Well, it'll give us more time to consider our next move. You see, John...
I see men risking their lives to avert disaster, total disaster. Now, wake up, Commissioner. If this goes wrong, there won't be anybody to issue a communique. There will be no survivors.
Commander, it's going up!
Abort the mission. Main mission to all Eagles. Return to base immediate. Repeat,
Hey, Glenn.
return to base immediate.
Seal off all sectors.